But guess what? We got a lot to do. You gotta say hi to me. We go back a long way. She was 12, I was 30, but anyway.
It's not fair! It's not fair! It's not fair!
It's a trap!
It actually is a trap.
It's a trap!
I will not show my independence, and I will not be making my own decisions.
In 2009, a bipartisan Congress created the Center for Tobacco Products at the FDA, and then the president signed us into law. And no, the fact that Congress and the president agreed on something is not what was historic. It was that for the first time ever, FDA, since the time we were established in 1906, we're really the gold standard agency to make sure that every product you put on or in your body is safe and effective.
Bullshit. The FDA is expanding a recall of a popular blood pressure drug over concern it may contain an unwanted ingredient that can cause cancer.
Tonight, for people on medication to treat high blood pressure, the Food and Drug Administration is recalling several drugs that contain an ingredient, valsartan. That drug includes an agent that could cause cancer.
Pfizer recalls its popular anti-smoking drug Chantix over a possible cancer risk.
The recall was secondary to some unknown quantities of a chemical called NMDA. We do know that it can cause direct liver injury.
Now to the Food and Drug Administration and to questions of regulation. The salmonella outbreak and the major egg recall have raised questions once again about whether an agency charged with regulating drugs and food can adequately do its job.
I can share that, at least from where FDA's perspective is, we would prefer to not have kids on the continuum of risk, if at all possible. But we recognize that's not possible because kids are kids, and there's many, many, many reasons why they choose to do different types of things. If we get asked a specific question by a teen, either a direct message to us or via social media about the relative harms of vaping versus cigarettes, we try to be as clear as possible that if your comparator is a cigarette, vaping is less harmful. As kids are incredibly smart. I'm sure both of these gentlemen, I'm sure, see that, and they have a crap detector a mile wide. We have not tried to tackle that directly in any of our proactive messaging, but when we get questions specifically in social or direct message, that's when we have that one-on-one dialogue.
The FDA today calling it a dangerous epidemic.
The FDA calls teen vaping an epidemic.
Epidemic.
Vaping is not as harmful as smoking.
You suck!
Hola, ¿cómo estás? How are you? Welcome to the Friday night Son of Liberty radio show. We are endeavoring to entertain and make you guys laugh and maybe educate you a little bit. Kevin is actually here in the back room. I may or may not let him in at any point, but let's see who's here to watch us. Addie's here, and James is here, and Omicidal's here, and Toasty's here, and Mallory's here. There's people here. Hello, people. But there's some exciting stuff to talk about. There's going to be some really cool stuff to talk about on the Rumble extended play section of the show later on. But we'll get to that. But I guess I'll let Kevin in here. Let me bring Kevin in.
Yeah, perhaps I've been remiss in a few things this week, but wow, where's Brian King? What's he doing?
Oh, he's hiding. He's hiding because I'm sure that one of the FDA legal team has produced the results of this most recent court challenge, which we will talk about at some point tonight. I'm positive that will come up, Kevin.
You think?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that that's probably going to be something that will be mentioned. Will be mentioned. So how was your New Year's?
It's quiet and uneventful, and that's the way I like it. Stay off my lawn, please.
Are you doing the grumpy old man thing this week, Kevin?
I'm a little cantankerous. I'm a little riled up about a couple things. That's okay.
I would assume
I'm in no mood for you.
I would assume that you would be happy.
Happy why?
That there was an actual victory in a court court thing that has to do with something that you care about.
I'm extremely happy.
It's the first time, literally. I mean, of this magnitude. Of course, there's been some stays that have been given and granted and stuff, but
there's been some kerfuffles
of this magnitude. I mean, this is a much bigger deal. I mean, this is an appellate court, issuing a scathing opinion. Using more firm language than anything else that we've seen from a court.
It's like those letters we've talked about. What I want to see is this tenfold. I'm happy. Don't get me wrong. I want to see asses on platters. I want to see accountability. I want to hear the words, "Oh, we fucked up. Oh, we fucked up really fucking bad. We fucked up so bad that we're all going to resign." That's what
Kevin. I'll be the negative Nelly. Okay. I'll go ahead and take the negative Nelly role. Just for but I really let's hold the negative Nelly until we get to that.
All right.
Because I want it to be all organized. You know how I like to be. You know how I like to. I like to be orderly and stuff. I don't want to be all like out of order.
Resignations.
It's never going to happen, Kevin.
I know.
So
and that's why I'm not happy.
One of the things that we have really focused on the show, Kevin, is responsibility.
Yeah.
And parent being an action verb, I believe, is one of your favorite sayings.
Parenting is an action verb.
This week I saw this piece and I was like, Kevin's gonna love this piece.
Oh,
so it says here, huge worry. Parents urged to educate children on vaping's dangers.
Well,
somebody is actually telling parents, do your damn job.
It's your job.
Teachers are urging parents to educate their children on the dangers of vaping. On December 22nd, it became illegal to sell e-cigarettes to a child, and for those who break the law, penalty of a fine of up to 4,000 euros and or up to 6 months in prison. Now, that's a pretty bitey penalty there for selling, vape.
Karen will run out of money eventually.
But I need to know, because I don't know what country this is in. It's got to be Europe somewhere, probably England or something. But if it's the law as of December 22nd, that it's illegal to sell an e-cigarette to a kid, and if you get caught, you could have a 4,000 euro fine and up to 6 months or up to 6 months in prison. What is the penalty for selling cigarettes to a child?
Well, probably nothing, because kids are kids, and they're hard to contain themselves.
I'm kind of interested to know, is there parity in the penalty? I mean,
Probably not.
Introducing the legislation, Health Minister Stephen Donnelly said there was a real urgent need for restrictions. And one senator described vaping as a public health crisis, Kevin.
Oh, I've heard that.
It's a crisis. It's almost like a pandemic. Despite this, I said the fucking word. You know, the show is already going to get a ding against it now. Despite this, some educators believe that many children are already addicted and have asked parents to monitor how their children use their pocket money.
No.
So this is Ireland. So no, we know there's no penalty for cigarettes in Ireland. I already know that. Vaping is sweeping through schools, according to Aaron Wolf. It's perceived by young people as something very cool and normalized. It's an attractive pastime for them, and it's become very, very popular. Kevin,
what?
When you don't smoke, when you don't smoke by using a vape, do you feel cool?
No. I feel like I'm not smoking a cigarette. That's what I feel like.
Do you feel like you're being trendy?
Patrick, let me explain something to you, boy.
Are you a hep cat?
I don't think I've ever been trendy. So, no, I can't imagine anybody would say, geez, there comes Kev, boy, look how trendy he fucking is. No.
Yeah. No. So, it's a huge worry because of the, addictive nature of nicotine and the damage that vaping would cause to their development, Kevin.
Yeah.
So your brain is underdeveloped.
Is it?
Because you've been using, nicotine since you were like 6. Better than smoking? ? HSE has said vapes are potentially less harmful than traditional tobacco cigarettes, but notes the technology is still in its infancy, and we do not know the long-term health impact of vaping, Kevin. We just don't know yet, Kevin.
We just don't know. If you don't know, shut up.
If vaping is in its infancy, and I've been vaping since 2010, and it's now 2024.
Yeah.
That's a 14-year-old infant.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just checking.
Right. Well, 25-year-old children, so there you go.
Yeah. Scientists are also concerned vapes may change how a person's vital organs function. Remember a couple months ago we did a story about how vaping barbecues your organs. Now they're using the word how they function.
No.
Scientists are also, I already read that. Person's vital organs function, increasing the risk of illness such as heart disease, lung disease, and cancer. Well, we damn well know that there's actually an article later in the show from the best cancer research institute in the world, supposedly, MD Anderson Cancer Center, about whether or not vaping causes cancer. So we will defer to that article for later on. So at least they're finally deciding to put a little bit of the onus on mommy and daddy.
Well,
parents do your job.
Not the retail.
Well, I mean, yeah. And
Patrick, I look at this as a plumbing leak. Where do you find the leak? How do you fix the leak? Where do you go? Right. And then once you find the source of the leak and you fix the leak, there's no more water, right?
So
that's it.
So Addie, I have included something about Jerome Adams in a little bit.
Oh, Jerry,
just be patient.
Did you invite him on again?
We will get there. So here, Kevin. Here's another story from Ireland that also says a school principal in Cork says it's up to parents to ensure children aren't vaping.
No, really?
Man, these genius Irish people.
I don't know what happened. When did all this start? Just this week?
January 3rd. January 3rd, Kevin. Right. So they're fine. So a school principal in Cork, I know that this is Ireland because Cork, says it's up to parents to make sure that children aren't vaping. Recently, it became illegal for vapes to be sold to under 18s. Principals say it's much more difficult to catch a student vaping instead of smoking cigarettes because they look like highlighter pens and don't smell like tobacco. Well, they don't all look like highlighter pens. I mean, come on. No. This one doesn't look like a highlighter pen. But I don't imagine too many high school age kids in Ireland have $300 laying around to buy a high-end vape. But anyway, speaking to Red FM News, Principal I can't even this. I can say the last name. This is definitely, I'd have to be drunk to be able to say Kalaist Iman Riss in Cork. Aaron Wolf says parents, children's pocket money should be monitored. Well, it's the same guy from the other article, though. Like we did long ago with smoking, you try to make sure teenagers weren't smoking and have a conversation at home. Teenagers get their money from parents. So that's another way to monitor it. Make sure your child isn't spending their money on vaping. It costs like £8 to buy a vape or €8 to buy a vape. So there's so they're having the conversation. You should be having. Where's your money going, kid? Where's your pocket money?
And what's in your pocket?
Where's it going?
Why do you need more?
Why are you always asking for more money?
Why do you only need 8?
Yeah. So this week there's been a lot of stuff. Clive put out some good stuff. But our good friend Brad also put out some good stuff.
Yes.
So, we always got to highlight our friends who are doing good stuff. So Dr. Brad Rodew has written a piece for his Tobacco Truth blog. The link is in the show notes. Current tobacco prohibition in U.S. prisons would violate the Geneva Convention as it treats incarcerated Americans worse than wartime POWs. Back in the day, I don't know if they do this anymore or not, but I'm pretty sure they don't. But they used to include a pack of cigarettes in your meals when you were
I did not know that.
Back in Vietnam, in your
You mean as soldiers?
Yes.
Okay, not POW. Well, okay. Yes, I knew that then. All right.
Right. But I'm assuming that Philip Morris also got a little kickback from the POWs and probably did give them guys packs of cigarettes too. I mean,
I imagine, yeah.
Yeah. So it says here, the U.S. Federal Bureau of Prisons in 2015 finalized a rule prohibiting inmate possession of smoking apparatus and tobacco in any form. 9 years earlier, the Bureau had discontinued tobacco sales in prison commissaries. According to the final rule, Bureau officials discounted the issue of black market activity, saying the agency staff was already trained to intercept contraband.
Yeah,
so the addition of tobacco involved zero additional burden.
That's right.
And we always know that the guys in prison can't get anything they're not supposed to get, Kevin.
There's never going to be a black market ever, especially in a prison.
Yeah, let me just let's look at prison. Let's see, prison drug use. Let's just statistics.
Sure.
Yeah, because we know that they can get anything that they want. They're not supposed to have cell phones. They got cell phones.
That's impossible. They can't do that. They're in prison.
I don't want to. Okay, so I'm just gonna use the National Institute of Drug Abuse instead of the Human Rights Watch as a source here. Let me just share this screen for a second here. Blink. It says, and this is just the points of information here. This is not the full text, because the full text is way up here and I don't want to read that. But let's just read the points to remember. There are high rates of substance use within the criminal justice system. Okay, that's 85% of the prison population has an active substance use disorder and were incarcerated for a crime involving drugs and drug use. So if they currently are still using, they're getting it somehow.
Active.
Getting it somehow. Yeah. Inmates with opioid use disorder are at a higher risk for overdose following their release from incarceration.
Huh.
So that would lead me to believe, if I scroll up here somewhere, there would be, hey, there's a massive, huge black market.
But they got it all under control. They're trained.
Yeah. I mean, they don't need to worry about that, because our prison guards are highly trained.
I trust the authority. I have a relative who was, and a relative who is a prison guard. I should ask him about that.
Yeah. So it says here, they promised to increase searches of Bureau employees to ensure that they don't become contraband sources, and
they're
to
trusted
impose
people.
So yeah, they're going to search themselves.
Yeah. What's the hen house and the fox or something? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So, to make sure that employees don't become contraband sources, and to impose more severe inmate sanctions for violations to deter possession of tobacco products. Such measures were destined to fail, as the Mississippi Department of Corrections discovered. 3 years ago, that agency abandoned its tobacco ban, reporting that Prohibition had created an underground market that saw inmates paying as much as $500 a pound for cigarette tobacco.
Oh my God.
Damn, I want that business. The new policy, the commissioner said, will save them money and the state will make money. And by selling cigarettes, we are breaking the contraband tobacco trade. Designating smoking areas outside, clearing the air inside for the majority of inmates who don't smoke, reducing inmate contraband violations, and recouping for the taxpayers some of the dollars it takes to run prisons.
Huh.
Yeah, sell them at $10 a pack.
Yeah,
make a profit. Come on, yo. The Federal Bureau of Prisons wrongly claimed. The Federal Bureau of Prisons, not in prisons, wrongly claimed that its rule would not affect prisoners with mental illness, citing a 2002 review that it said found it was no more difficult for the mentally ill to quit smoking than it was for someone with no mental disorder. Oh, come on, Brad. Let me open this. I got to read this. This is from 2002. Let me share this tab for. We're going to go.
Said wrongly claimed.
I know that Brad said wrongly claimed, but
but these fuckers are.
I mean, we know that 60% of every cigarette, or of all cigarettes sold, 60% of those are sold to the mentally ill.
Yeah.
The neurodivergent, diverse, or whatever.
Yes.
All right. So it says here, persons with psychiatric illnesses are about twice as likely as the general population to smoke tobacco. So they're saying people that are ill with mental illness are twice as likely to smoke. They also tend to smoke more heavily than other smokers. This critical review of literature identified 24 empirical studies of outcomes of smoking cessation approaches used with samples of persons with mental disorders. I'm not going to go through all of this. Let's see. Excuse me. Is there a conclusion down here? Yeah. Somewhere down here, there's a conclusion. All right. So it says here, these findings suggest that conventional attitudes about persons with mental illness being unable to quit smoking need to be modified. More research sources should be devoted to cessation efforts for these populations, and clinicians should be more direct in asking questions about their interest in quitting smoking. Relatively brief interviews can increase the number of quitters, although smoking cessation tends to be a lengthier process for persons with mental illness. Staff training is a cost. So this does not say it is as easy. It says it takes longer.
Yeah.
That's what that says. So if it takes longer, it can't be easier.
Well,
does that make sense to you?
Yep, yeah. It's all in the wording.
All right. I mean, I just like to, we're educating and informing our friends. You see Steve showed up here.
I see.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. To the contrary, the authors of that study acknowledged in a gross understatement that quit rates of psychiatric populations may be lower than those of non-psychiatric patients. We didn't even read that part. We just read a different part. There is overwhelming evidence that people with serious psychological disorders smoke more and have great difficulty in quitting. We know that, Kevin. And there's 5 examples. Alone. He leaves 5 examples here to show. I'm not opening those, but there are 5 of them. Clearly, prison bans of tobacco products ignore both science and economics, but the Bureau's prohibition, as well as countless local and state prison tobacco bans, would also violate international humanitarian standards if the bans were applied to prisoners of war. According to Army Lieutenant Colonel Frank Rosenblatt, retired, military law expert and assistant professor at the Mississippi College School of Law, the Third Geneva Convention of 1949 is an international treaty regarding the treatment of prisoners of war and is ratified by nearly every nation, including the United States. Here's what it says about tobacco. Canteens shall be installed in all camps where prisoners of war may procure foodstuffs, soap, and tobacco and ordinary articles of daily use. The tariff shall never be in excess of local market prices. So you can't even charge more to prisoners of war.
Right.
I mean, whatever market price is.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, my suggestion of, say, raising a couple dollars by charging $10 a pack.
Well, the difference between a prison
might also be against the Geneva Convention.
Prison and prisoner of war.
Right. But I'm just saying, as Brad is in this article, that the current prohibition on tobacco use in prisons would go against the Geneva Convention if they were prisoners of war.
Right. Scary, isn't it?
Yes. If enemy combatants are entitled to tobacco as an element of humane treatment, why shouldn't the same standard apply to incarcerated Americans? A second aspect of the Bureau's no, that's not right, though, Kevin, because we do have international treaties that grant political, independence and diplomatic immunity to foreigners that are on American soil, right?
Right, yeah.
Right. So technically prisoners of war would fall under that same category of, we don't want to fuck around and find out by messing with these guys, because they're going to turn around and do the same thing with our people that they have.
Yeah.
So the whole reason for a treaty to decide how people will treat prisoners of war is to protect your own troops.
Yeah.
Because you don't want your guys that are over there in their POW camps to be maltreated.
No.
So there's a logic behind that. And it's the same thing with diplomats. We don't want our diplomats that are over there doing things, in foreign lands to be misused, mishandled, subjected to torture and things like that. That's why we have diplomatic immunity. Because otherwise, Biden would be rounding up every Israeli diplomat and every Russian diplomat right now and doing horrible things because he's an idiot. That's why. Anyway, the second aspect of the Bureau's prohibition also violates human rights. The Bureau's rule bans snuff and chewing tobacco on the grounds that they are also harmful to health in the same way as lighted tobacco products are. That's not true. Not only was this proven false 30 years ago, but eminent tobacco researcher Lynn Kozlowski demonstrated 2 decades ago that no safe tobacco product themes widely promoted by anti-tobacco extremists are so uninformative that they constitute a violation of a fundamental right to health relevant information, tobacco. The sweeping and pervasive prohibition of all tobacco products across federal, state, and local penal institution violates international humanitarian standards and the rights of 1.8 million incarcerated Americans. There's 1,800,000 people in prisons in the United States.
Yep. That's what it says.
So if we were just to take the most violent of those offenders and do something with them where they would never be able to hurt anyone else. I don't want to say it out loud. And then we got rid of those guys. And then we rehabilitated the ones that are rehabilitatable. Then we would be able to clear them out of most of the prison. And then we could take that space, take the locks off the cells, open the cells, and then invite the homeless people that are all over the place to go, put a roof over your head.
Right.
And you can stay here. I mean, like I said, remove the locks. We don't want to. We don't want to lock them up. But
freedom of movement.
Give them somewhere. Give them somewhere to hang their hat.
Just have 2 tiers that are still lockable for the politicians.
And
the FDA guys, because that's where they need to go.
There's going to be assholes that always need to go to jail, Kevin. I'm just, I just think
they stay at the bottom.
The most violent of the violent, they need to be dealt with.
Yeah, of course.
Dealt with in a very final way, and then we could make up so much space. We could just make up some space. And
Dr. Rodu brought to my attention something I really wasn't.
Now, is this the time that he called you a name? Didn't he call you a name one time or something?
No, never. No.
Oh, okay. It was the other guy, Carl.
No, Carl didn't call me a name. Carl pretended to insult me. C Doug is the one that said I was. Yeah, he was
one
trying
of them.
pretty hard.
One of them.
C Doug actually said the one of them thing, which really didn't bother me at the time anyway. But I think it's fun.
One of them.
And I've never, and I won't mention it to him. If he were ever on here, I wouldn't bring it up.
No.
There's no reason to bring it up.
I'm going to say
it's there.
I'd say, hey, C Doug, you remember that time that you told Kevin that he was one of them?
The irony.
You remember that?
That's all right.
Oh,
I just want to hear the handcuff chings, the jingle and jingles of those handcuffs on people.
I've got spurs. I'm getting all sorts. This has got some nasty pop-ups in it. I'm just gonna skip this one anyway. It was a sort of a filler article anyway.
Yeah.
Sort of a filler article.
While you're looking for filler, someone pointed out to me, John St. James, that there's audio. There's audio, Patrick, audio. And the few things have provided more pleasure than to hear the trembling voice of FDA's legal team during the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. Just so you know, it's on my timeline.
We will find it. We will find it. But Kevin,
I'll put it in.
Speaking
the YouTube
of,
just because I want everybody to be able to find it.
Speaking of timeline stuff, and the X's.
Oh, the X's.
Did you see that Jerome Adams got utterly mugged this week on Twitter?
I over tweeted or added to a tweet or something. I think yours. Because he's a dumbass.
No, I am the perpetrator of the mugging of Jerome Adams. I'm gonna pat myself
more worthless than he used to be.
I'm gonna pat myself on the back for this one. That's what I'm gonna do.
Michelle.
So Jerry tweeted this week. It's fascinating that someone would actually brag about not following CDC and public health guidance for outbreak management, especially for vulnerable nursing home patients, and not think it carries a legal liability. I hope if anyone's family member is harmed from a COVID infection while one of these facilities, that their lawyer sees this admission of negligence from the owner. So the tweet is no longer there, but it was essentially saying COVID numbers are up, but we're still open and we're not locking Granny up. Essentially,
I'd like to add a footnote before you move on. Fuck you, Jerry. Fuck you, Jerry. Because I've got receipts.
So, I mean, that's Jerry was trying to dunk on some guy who is a nursing home administrator, and he, Well, how dare he not imprison those old people? I mean, that's essentially
Jerry should be in prison.
So I decided that since he was being kind of an ass, which I felt like he was being an ass, I felt like, you know what, I've laid off of Jerry because he's not really relevant anymore. He's not the Surgeon General anymore. He's just a paid shill for Pfizer. He does have a position at some university as a consultant or something. But if you notice, anytime you see on YouTube, and I was going to go get a supercut of this and make it happen, but I just got lazy this week. But if you go to YouTube, there are multiple segments where he's on a local news channel promoting his book that somebody wrote for him about his time as Surgeon General. And all of the wonderful things that he did as Surgeon General.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, but if you notice that every time he's on one of those local news segments, there's a narrator that says this segment of local news Health Watch is brought to you by Pfizer. So I'm wondering how many advanced copies of his book did Pfizer have to buy?
Or his mom, maybe. Maybe his mom
move the needle a little bit on the sales of his fucking book. But anyway,
I should write a book.
And I'm surprised that Jerry still hasn't blocked me.
All I should do is just put his.
This is the ugliest tweet that I've ever used, that I've ever targeted him with, and I still don't use any foul language in it. But I said, "Sorry, Jerry, but with an ineptitude, corruption, and outright lack of morals is rampant in public health, the public eventually start to think for themselves. Mishandling previous health emergencies, Valley under your watch, for example, is a huge reason why you lack credibility.
Yeah.
When confronted with the science that people were being hospitalized with lung damage caused by illicit THC vape cartridges that contained vitamin E acetate, you replied, well, they said they were vaping nicotine. You assumed that underage kids would admit that they were using illicit THC products and states that it's illegal.
Yeah.
When it was suggested that ER and healthcare staff test for THC, you used the lame excuse that it would cause distrust between the patient and the provider. Let's not forget that you were included in an email chain weeks prior to the first case from a state health department, and we have screenshots warning of this exact situation.
Yep.
Why is it fascinating you that someone doesn't trust CDC and so-called public health when time after time you failed in your mission to engender trust and confidence?
I like that.
Public health.
Engender,
yeah. Public health has done nothing to show the health of the public is their priority.
Now, this isn't the tweet that I was even thinking of, actually.
No. And then I replied to him, hey, Jerry, whatever happened to those leftover product samples you asked clinicians to collect for you? Where are all the lab results?
Like a fucking clown show.
I bet that they're in some evidence box in a CDC document warehouse somewhere. You know, like at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, when they're bringing the crate into the warehouse and they're putting it on a shelf. That's what happened to the samples, because I even screenshotted it because it's still there, Kevin. Where he says health providers collect clinical specimens / leftover product samples for laboratory testing. Where are they?
I'm looking for something. So
yeah,
you're gonna hear me tapping.
And then Jim McCarthy, he's running for office in New York. He's the president of Counterpoint Strategies Communication. He's an investment guy. But anyway, he says, well, it's been coming up on 2 years, and Adams hasn't responded to AVM's good faith effort to interact with him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, he's been invited to be on my show over 100 times, and he hasn't showed up yet. And all he did, if you ever watched during the episode where we can't talk, the episode of Time when he was on TV and he was talking about the, this is our Pearl Harbor moment. You remember those things?
Yeah.
Every time he was on TV and somebody asked him about the face coverings and all that, he would always say, well, CDC says.
Yeah.
He would never express an independent opinion. It would always be, well, current CDC guidance says, and I'm like, aren't you the Surgeon General? C. Everett Koop would never have relied on somebody else's guidance. He would have used his own brain and come up with his own opinion. And whether or not I agree with what C. Everett Koop would have said, I don't know. But at least it would have been his own opinion, his own thought. This guy never had. He carried water for CDC. He carried water for FDA. He never once came up with his own thoughts.
Right. Correct. That's what I meant.
Yeah. So then Jim says, I thought his speech to the Cato Institute was very thoughtful, but yes, he caved to CDC and FDA on these principles. Notice he's very quick to engage with the low follower Twitter accounts, either to bask in praise or to knock down strawmen. And then I said, well, you should look at his record while head of the Indiana State Department of Health.
Well, because he's,
because he was the Surgeon General of not the Surgeon General, the head of the Indiana State Department of Health during the worst AIDS epidemic in a state after the Reagan years, obviously, ever. And it was all because of dirty needles. And for like 3 months, he refused to institute a clean needle exchange, refused on religious grounds.
Oh, well, it's funny that I sent the tweet that I sent you. All right.
Huh?
I sent you the tweet that I found. I sent you mine because it's right below it. But anyway, on religious grounds, huh?
Yes, I can easily find the article where it talks about how he.
Oh no, I believe you. I don't remember that specifics.
Yeah, let me share your tab.
You fucking idiot. So
it says here
this from John, for whatever guilt Jerry has in whatever butthurt he's babbling about. I don't want reform. This applies to you too, there, Zippy at the FDA. I don't want reform. I want it to cease immediately. And career life-changing accountability for those not applying science and data before mistakes occurred. And that can be taken 100 ways to Sunday. But this is, I guess it's a tweet that he had done around the 30th. So this is probably on the same lines you were just on, but it's not very Christian, is what he said at the bottom. What is wrong with you?
Now you do remember when he threatened to mute us because we were being mean to him?
Yeah, fuck him.
And I mean, like I said, this tweet that I just read, my tweet, was probably the most aggressive.
Has he not blocked you yet?
He has not blocked me. Fuck me. He has not blocked me because I didn't use any dirty words.
I never used any dirty words. Well, I did call him Snippet Boy.
You do insult. You use insult,
it's truth.
Ugly words. How about that? Not. So it says here, let me see. It says, Jerry, it says, laughing my ass off, Trump's appointee has opinions. So many of the replies / comments below illustrate why we are stuck as a society. Some, too many people, we can't move forward until public health and officials admit their mistakes. That's true. I firmly believe. Some people,
Except
after
me.
public health / officials admit their mistakes, see, they admitted it. Take away their license, lock them up, execute them for what I believe that's also a possible end result there. At least the licenses. I don't know about execution, but
give him a cigarette and let him give a blindfold.
So I like this: lock them up, execute them for what they thought as right at the time, based on the available information, and now acknowledge that. I haven't heard him.
What was that, Patrick?
Acknowledge any of his fucking mistakes.
This thing's all staticky all of a sudden. What?
So first masks don't work. Then it was, well, we said that at the time because we didn't want the regular people to use them.
Yeah, that's right. You pee on.
We needed to save them for the healthcare providers because fuck the regular people. And now, then he did a video, which I have somewhere on my computer, of him making a homemade cloth mask out of a T-shirt.
Here and boomers, and
we have that. Yeah. And then now we have him like every time he goes somewhere, every time he leaves his house, he's putting a mask on.
He got a ticket in Hawaii for not wearing.
Oh yeah, he got a ticket. Don't you know who I am?
He got a ticket in Hawaii
for being on a closed public beach without a mask
with his friend. Anyway, I don't know
you know who I
what
am. I'm the Surgeon General of the United States.
Yeah.
You can't write me a ticket.
No.
I still don't know if he ever actually showed up for his court date on that one.
I think it was dismissed.
That would be interesting. No, I think that motherfucker should be prosecuted like every other.
I was hoping he would have, but I don't think he did. If I remember right.
I mean, come on now. That seems only fair.
Go ahead, finish that last sentence or two. Because wait, before you scroll, just remember science and data. That's all you got to remember. Now you may proceed, sir.
Is it data or data, Kevin?
Oh, fuck off! It doesn't matter. He's an idiot either way. Let me explain something to you, Zippy.
I mean, I'm cogitating here. I really,
don't. Do you have Vaseline, or you're gonna be all right?
I'm really interested.
Cogitating. Yeah,
not masturbating, you dirty old bastard.
It's not very Christian of him either way. So that's what it said.
All right, here I got a little video for you. This is from Oklahoma, Kevin. Oklahoma, where the wind comes screaming down the plains.
New at 6, 21% of high school students across Oklahoma are using a vaping device of some kind. That's according to the
21%
of some kind. You see Ed walking in here like he's sober.
Yeah. Well, he probably fell in. I am the scientism.
Vaping device of some kind. That's according to the Tobacco Settlement Endowment Trust, or TSET, as part of the
Tobacco Settlement Endowment Trust. So these are the people that get the money from the Tobacco Settlement Agreement in Oklahoma. Okay. All right.
Behind the Haze campaign, the agency is rolling out a new message to remind these young people of the harmful effects that vaping can have on their bodies. Tune in as Oklahoma's Steph Manchin joins me now in studio to tell us more about this campaign. Steph?
Yeah, Karen, they're calling it In the Skin. It's an educational message.
Now that sounds dirty. You're talking about a program targeting children. You're calling it In the Skin. Okay.
That will effectively run as a commercial on your TVs and over radios, but it will also be available on social media platforms as well. The goal is to visually show how the
and they're using cartoons, Kevin. It's animated.
Well, can you imagine that?
Chemicals in vaping can change our DNA and educate people.
I want mutant powers. Yes. I mean, I want to be
into
Wolverine,
a catfish.
You know?
Oh, that kind of. Okay, never mind. I thought I was turning into a catfish.
It can change your DNA, Kevin. It's like CRISPR. We're gonna take vaping and add CRISPR technology to it so that we can change our DNA.
Yeah.
You know, for those of you that don't, CRISPR is the platform that they use to supposedly be able to genetically alter things. Like that's how they clone stuff, and they use CRISPR to fine tune the DNA.
At least they're not paying for actors, right?
Well, I'm sure somebody's doing voiceover, or
Chemicals in vaping can change our DNA and educate people of any age, really, before they pick up the habit. A CDC report shows that 10% of middle and high school students nationwide reported actively using a tobacco product.
So 21% Oklahoma, but 10% national.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Product last year.
So those Oklahoma people are doing a bad job. They need to get some of those Irish guys to come over here and tell them, hey, parents, do your fucking job.
We did see a 4% decline in e-cigarette use from 2022 to 2023 in high school students, but it is still the most popular tobacco product among young people. Thomas Larson with T-Set tells me the hope is with a short animated clip like this, it will resonate with its intended audience and show them why they should stay away from these devices.
Is something dangerous, and we want teens to have that knowledge because we know that every day teens are being advertised to, that they may know people.
Advertised, Kevin.
Yeah.
There's
I've heard of
commercials
this
everywhere. There's radio commercials and TV commercials. Oh, no, they're not. Never mind. They're not allowed. Billboard. No billboards.
No.
Yeah. No magazine ads.
Nope.
But they're being advertised every day, Kevin.
I wonder if they're going to use cartoons. Oh, wait a minute.
At school who are vaping, and we want them to go into those encounters with the knowledge of that can set you up for a lifetime of addiction.
Larson says the PSA will play around family programming in hopes of sparking conversations with parents and their children. In the Skin launches next week on January 9th.
Not yet, Skip.
For teens struggling and looking for help kicking the habit. We have some resources linked on our website, kjrh.com.
Pat, listen to me, Patrick. Follow along. Wait, I don't want to have to explain myself because I may jump around. So what they're saying is they're going to target children, allegedly.
Children. Yeah.
And they're going to say, you little shits, don't be vaping because it's not good for you. That way, those children who are underage and cannot legally purchase those products will go to the store and decide not to buy something. Is that what they're saying? Is that what this is about?
Yeah. Oh.
Son of a bitch! Why didn't I think of that?
I don't know what to tell you, Kev. Can't help you there.
I'm sorry, I didn't try to confuse anybody, but that's how I feel.
Since Skip's here now, we'll transition to the big deal. So this week, the Fifth Circuit Court issued their opinion, on the lawsuit between Triton. It's enjoined. It's Triton and some other people suing the FDA for the PMTA process and being arbitrarily issued, denials
to
marketing denial orders. So during the reading of I actually got video of the judge reading the decision. Yeah. So here I'm gonna scroll back here. I'm gonna make this full screen, and this is FDA's response.
I appreciate that, but I think it's time that he gets a taste of something else because I just can't with that history. In accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, this court.
That's one of the crazier ones I've seen ever.
Yeah, FDA was not happy with the judge's decision on that. So we have two news pieces.
Yeah.
From two of our favorite news sources on this topic. The first one we'll read is from Reason because we love Reason. And it says, in Banc, Fifth Circuit rejects FDA's vaping regulation. Surprise switcheroo. So it says here, another significant court loss for the FDA's arbitrary approach to regulating vaping products. Today, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit issued its long-awaited Banc decision in Wages and White Lion Investments, LLC versus the FDA, in which it considered a challenge to the FDA's denial of vaping product applications. By a vote of 6-10, the court handed the FDA a substantial loss and deepened the circuit split over the FDA's handling of the vaping product applications. This is the Fifth Circuit's third Wages and White Lion opinion. A panel of the court had initially stayed the FDA's enforcement of its prohibition on the sale of unapproved vaping products, decrying the agency's surprise switcheroo, which was going to be the alternate name for tonight's show, but I liked FDA Under Siege just as well.
Yes.
Anyway, it says here, but a separate panel reversed course, upholding the FDA, saying, sitting in Banc, the Fifth Circuit Court has again ruled against the FDA, taking the agency to task for its arbitrary treatment of Wages and White Lion's product applications, and by implication, those submitted by dozens of other manufacturers as well. Judge Oldham wrote for the court. He was joined by Chief Judge Richmond and Judges Jones, Smith, Elrond, Willett, Ho, Duncan, Engelhardt, and Wilson. Judge Hayes wrote the principal dissent, joined by Judges Stewart, Southwick, Higginson, and Douglas. Judge Graves also dissented separately. Judge Oldham's opinion begins, over several years, the FDA sent manufacturers of flavored e-cigarette products on a wild goose chase. First, the agency gave manufacturers detailed instructions for what information federal regulators needed to approve e-cigarette products. Just as importantly, FDA gave manufacturers, let me close this, specific, where did I missed specific. Specific instructions on what regulators did not need. The agency said manufacturers' marketing plans would be critical to the success of their applications, and the agency promulgated hundreds of pages of guidance documents, hosted public meetings, and posted formal presentations to its website, all with the false premise that a flavored vape manufacturer could, at least in theory, satisfy FDA's instructions. The regulated manufacturers dutifully spent untold millions conforming their behavior and their applications to FDA's say-so. Then, months after receiving hundreds of thousands of applications predicated on its instructions, FDA turned around, pretended it never gave anyone any instructions about anything, imposed new testing requirements without any notice, and denied 1 million flavored e-cigarette applications for failing to predict the agency's about-face change in direction. Worse, after telling manufacturers that their marketing plans were critical to their applications, FDA candidly admitted that it did not read a single word of the 1 million plans.
Stop.
Then FDA denied what?
Didn't you say that?
Yes, I did.
Didn't you say that, Patrick?
And then somebody in the PMTA sharing group said that I was I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. Some neckbeard that opened his own PMTA advisory company. Yeah, that guy. Anyway, yes, I predicted that they were going to find a fatal flaw and they were going to mass cancel every PMTA. I did say that, Kevin. I did.
I'm not trying to be your fucking friend. I remember you saying they're not going to do that. They're going to stick it in their little machine and go.
I specifically even said they're not going to read your applications. They're going to use a software bot to search for keywords in all of the applications, and then we're going to mass delete everybody's PMTAs. Is what I well, not delete, but cancel or whatever, deny. Yes. Then FDA denied that its voluminous guidance documents and years-long instruction process meant anything. Why? Because the agency said it always reserved the implied power to ignore every instruction it ever gave and to require the very studies it said could be omitted, along with the secret power to not even read the marketing plans that it had previously said were critical. It was the regulatory equivalent of Romeo sending Mercutio on a wild goose chase. If you haven't read Romeo and Juliet, you may not get that reference. I'm just saying. And then admitting that there never was a goose while denying that he even suggested the chase. Yeah. FDA justifies its behavior with two principal arguments. First, FDA argues that its years' worth of regulatory guidance was not worth the paper it was printed on because it was hedged with cautious qualifiers and never guaranteed that any particular submission would be granted. Second, and most disturbingly, FDA argues that its capriciousness should be forgiven as harmless because the agency promises to deny petitioners' applications even if we remand to make agency follow the law. FDA argues that its capriciousness should be forgiven as harmless because the agency promises to deny petitioners' applications even if we remand and make the agency follow. So they're going to do whatever they are. FDA is saying right here, this sentence,
by law,
that
they don't care.
They want to do, even if the court remands, in order for them to follow the law.
Yeah.
They're going to do whatever they want to do. That's what that says right there, Kevin.
Yeah.
We're a government.
Don't give a shit.
And we're not going to follow what the court tells us to do. That's what that says.
Yeah. Now, what is that? Too much power saying again?
Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
How about that? Hi, Mark. Hi, Mark.
Mark hasn't been around in like ages. I miss Mark.
Hi, Bernie. Oh, stop it. Because, so just above that, did it not say that it's the law? Go scroll up. There you go. Maybe it was before that. Their guidance under the law is that they're supposed to follow the law. And I know it's either Gottlieb or some other dumb fuck like Mitch saying, well, we have to do everything within the law. So, so we don't get in trouble.
We don't have the authority. We don't have the authority to change the process, is what they said. We have to have a congressional intervention. This is the process that has been handed to us. We can't change anything. We have to follow this
That's
process.
More
That's what they said. That is exactly what they said. We do not have the authority to change the process, is what they're saying. What they said 6 years ago.
It breaks my fucking heart because we've been sitting here yelling, screaming, and hollering and tweeting and blogging and whatever it is everybody's been doing in the room continuously for me for 10 years and you for 14, saying, this is what they're doing to you, you fuckers. And some people had to drop off. Some people have disappeared. Some people have closed their fucking stores and businesses and livelihoods. And there are
the beautiful young Skip, the beautiful Skip in the chat room. She had to close her fucking business because of this nonsense.
So when you hear my hate and spitting, as I might like to call it on occasion, and Kevin's gone off the rails. This is fucking why, because they were doing it illegally to begin with. And that, my friend, and I don't call you that very often, is why I'm not happy, because this should have been addressed long ago. And they kept dicking it around and pushing it further away. And now I'm happy it's out, but this ain't even the beginning of it. It's not even the start.
So it says here, today we reject both propositions. As the Supreme Court recently reminded us, if men must turn square corners, then they deal with the government. It cannot be too much to expect the government to turn square corners when it deals with them. And there's no principle is more important than considering how the unelected administrators of the fourth branch of government treat the American people. And the FDA's regulatory switcheroos in this case bear no resemblance to square corners. As for the agency's harmless error argument, the Supreme Court recently unanimously and summarily rejected it. Calcutta, FDA, blah, blah, blah. We do the same here. with the expectation that FDA will give petitioners the benefit of a full and fair regulatory proceeding on remand, notwithstanding its prior promises to reject their applications no matter what.
Right. And you see Mark's
no matter
comment?
what. You see the petulant little children?
Yeah. You see Mark's comment?
Yes, I do. But that's, I'll even put it on screen. That's not true. The TCA does not dictate how they regulate tobacco products, nor how they now the situation that I'm referring to, though, is that there was an existing PMTA process that was overseen by ATF before it was handed to FDA. And all ATF did was say, these are the forms that we used before. Here's the process that we followed. Have
and
fun.
Then to ride, right. And then to ride on Mark's statement, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, to call out Holman, who has, in fact, gone on to PMI, I believe. None of these people have the balls to override everything and anything because of science and data. They just like to talk as if they do. That's what they're doing.
Yeah. So while the majority expected the FDA to comply with administrative law norms and fair notice and non-arbitrary treatment, the dissenters adopted a more permissive posture, concluding that vaping product manufacturers had failed to demonstrate that their products satisfied the FDA's regulatory standards. This view may have commanded See, my thing is how can the court, the dissenters in this case, formulate that opinion when FDA admits we didn't read most of these applications? We didn't read the marketing plans that we told them were very important, which aren't really important.
Yeah.
So how can they even say that the applications don't meet the FDA's standard when the FDA never even opened the files?
Right.
So I call BS on the the dissenter's opinion based on the fact that FDA said during the trial, during their proceedings or whatever, we never even read them.
Yeah.
So yeah. So this, I call BS on this. This view may have commanded majorities on most circuit courts to consider the question, but it did not command a majority of the Fifth Circuit, wrote Judge Oldham. FDA's counter argument boils down to this. Some other circuits agree with the agency. It is true that 5 circuits have sided with the FDA, while the 11th Circuit and ours have found the agency acted arbitrarily and capriciously, but law is not a nose counting exercise. And then he's, giving, so 5 circuits have considered the question by a count of 15-0. Every judge deciding those cases has found no. So they're just giving different examples of court cases where it doesn't matter how many, you're not counting how many judges agree with you and how many judges don't agree with you when counting different circuits. You're looking at different levels. This is, if FDA doesn't appeal this decision, I will be surprised.
Oh yeah, so
because it's going to go up to another level. Right. It's going to go to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And then the Supreme Court's going to have to look and decide whether they pick up the case or not.
Yep. And as another footnote in the history books, Gottlieb tweeted he supported Sharpless' stated commitment to follow through on the proposal to ban all e-cigarette flavors 25th September of 2019. Just so we were all aware of what we're talking about.
So the question now is whether the Justice Department will seek Supreme Court review. Thus far, the Supreme Court, has shown little interest in taking up a vaping case, at least with cert petitions that have been filed by manufacturers of denied products. Now that there's a clear circuit split and the FDA may be seeking review, perhaps the court will change its mind.
Troop. Yes.
So, yeah, just because somebody wants to appeal doesn't actually mean the Supreme Court is actually going to say, yes, we're going to pick it up.
Right. So, am I happy? Well, that remains to be seen.
Later on tonight, we'll talk about the Supreme Court picking up a different case, but that one we knew was going to happen. But that has nothing to do with vaping. But that's just the process of how the Supreme Court works. They can pick and choose what cases they hear. So here's another. This is from Filter. This is another trusted site that we like. This is a scathing rebuke for FDA as appeals court gives hope for flavored vapes, and it's by Kiran Sidhu. So it says here, a federal appeals court has issued a scathing rebuke of the FDA's handling of applications to authorize vaping products. A ruling in a key case issued on January 3rd accused the FDA of sending vape manufacturers on a wild goose chase under the agency's pre-market tobacco application process, misleading applicants, and failing to honor its own guidelines. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals has reversed marketing denial orders issued by FDA to Triton and Vapetasia, two mid-sized vape manufacturers, and ordered the agency to open new reviews. I need to order some Vapetasia liquid if they sell 12 milligram. They used to sell 12 milligram. But the long-running case, as Filter has reported, has much wider significance. It has been viewed as central to tobacco harm reduction advocates' hopes of seeing a wide variety of authorized vaping products in the United States to help people switch from smoking, including, in particular, the flavored products that are so important to many people making the switch. Yes, regardless of what anybody says, we do have proof that people that vape, that prefer flavors, will go back to smoking cigarettes if they don't have their favorite flavor available, because a lot of people, not Kevin and I, because Kevin and I both vape tobacco flavors, don't like tobacco flavors.
Right.
And I'm sure Mark, who is in the chat room, can testify. He probably sells more flavored vaping products than tobacco flavors. I'm pretty sure. I
bet it ain't 5%.
So I don't know. Mark says that he spoke to somebody in D.C. the last time he was in D.C. and they gave him the impression that the court was interested. Okay. But from what I've seen from other cases that have been presented to them, and there have been more than like 6 or 10 cases that have been kind of directed their direction, they chose not to pick up any of those. So the previous article said that due to the fact that there was a multiple circuit courts, there was a split in the opinions of multiple that they may be more interested in this particular case. But in my knowledge base, they've been, at least from what I've been able to see, hesitant to pick up any of these cases.
That's a good word.
Hesitant.
Well, they don't want to make anybody look bad, right?
No, but usually the Supreme Court likes to establish precedent. A lot of lower courts don't.
Right.
But usually the Supreme Court, they like to do that. They want to participate in a case, or they want to issue a ruling on a case or an opinion on a case that's going to set precedent. They like to do that.
It should. They're by all means should.
They're the top,
Yeah.
So anyway, but the long-running case, as Filter has reported, has much wider significance. It has been viewed as. Had I already read that one? Yeah, I read that one. To date, the FDA has authorized only a small number of tobacco-flavored products made by large companies with the resources to meet the onerous PMTA requirements. A chaotic process has seen millions of other applications rejected, and observers have noted that obtaining vape authorization is harder than is the case for new cigarettes, which actually kill people. So he says he sells 95% more flavored, like non-tobacco flavored products than he does tobacco products.
I was figured.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised.
Nope.
I'm severely disappointed, Kevin, speaking of tobacco flavors, because as everyone knows, my favorite e-liquid of all time is a Canadian flavor It's a Canadian brand.
Yeah.
And for me to order it from Canada now with the new tax that has been imposed, it's not cost effective for me to order it anymore.
Yeah.
It's
Skip, I don't know.
Extremely. Have all the other vape cases that appealed to this? Yes, they've all been industry petitions.
They were all industry.
Yes.
Wasn't sure.
Yeah. The FDA has not appealed many of the stays that were granted, except for this one. I think they were waiting to see what happened on this one before they appealed the other stays that were granted. There's a couple. Yeah. So, yeah. The FDA promulgated hundreds of pages of guidance documents, all with the false promise that a flavored vape manufacturer had a chance of success.
Yep.
The agency has yet to authorize a single non-tobacco flavored vaping product, and tobacco harm reduction advocates have long believed that this amounts to a blanket policy, which I believe is 100% accurate. A belief supported, for example, by Filter's 2022 report that FDA hierarchy overruled the scientists' recommendation to authorize some menthol flavored products. The new court ruling, a majority decision by an Banc panel that reverses a July 2022 ruling by the same court, bolsters that case. It said the FDA acted arbitrarily and capriciously when it denied authorization of Triton's flavored vaping products. The agency had issued specific instructions on what was required for vape manufacturers to obtain authorization, claiming that marketing plans were a critical part of the process. Circuit Judge Andrew Odom noted for the majority, the FDA promulgated hundreds of pages of guidance documents, hosted public meetings, presented information on its website, all with the false promise that a flavored vape manufacturer had a chance of success. After months of receiving applications, the ruling continued. The FDA turned around, pretended it never gave anyone any instructions about anything, imposed new testing requirements without any notice, and denied all 1 million flavored e-cigarette applications for failing to predict the agency's change in opinion. Worse, after telling manufacturers that their marketing plans were critical to their applications, FDA candidly admitted that it didn't read a single word of the 1 million plans, which is I read that from the other piece. But anyway, commenting on FDA's attempt to justify its actions, the judges wrote, FDA argues that its years worth of regulatory guidance was not worth the paper it was printed on because it was hedged with cautious qualifiers, modal verbs, and never guaranteed that any particular submission would be granted. Second, most disturbingly, the FDA argues that its capriciousness should be forgiven as harmless because the agency promises to deny petitioners' applications even if we remand to make the agency fall. So again, just like what we said, this is the exact same quote. They're gonna deny applications even if the court says that they have to be fair.
Right. So Patrick, queuing on my earlier question to you about the kids, if you have a product and it's not meant for children and it's age restricted to children or from children, I guess, and the FDA wants you to have a marketing plan, how does that make sense? Because it's their job.
Well, I believe, even though in the past I have presented myself as an expert, I believe that part of that marketing plan is how you are going to market your product without appealing to the kiddos.
Yeah, even though they can't buy them. Yeah,
an important part of how you plan on marketing, because they claim now marketing is everything from the label to the box, if it's in a box, to
the smell,
whatever.
The taste.
Yeah. And making sure that there's no pictures of an apple on your apple flavored e-liquid, because that would be confusing.
Yeah,
and there's no fucking commercials. Or ads, or billboards, or radio spots.
Yeah, just him and I in an ad would be probably plenty to keep the kids away. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The Fifth Circuit's decision underscores the need for FDA leadership to revise the agency's overall approach to the PMTA process. Eric Hayer, an attorney representing Triton told Filter, and to clearly specifically communicate in the to applicants what specific evidence will satisfy the appropriate for the protection of public health standard for non-tobacco flavored ends. Millions of former smokers know that flavored ends products have been the best tool for them to end their combustible cigarette use. He continued, it's time the FDA's regulatory approach caught up with this real world reality.
You know, they said leadership at FDA. Now,
well, I mean, we already know that leadership at FDA is going to listen to what they're told. For example, the report from Reagan-Udall that said, y'all are ignoring your own scientists.
Right.
Y'all need to listen to your scientists.
That's what I was just going to say, was that they wanted to authorize. Wait, let me rephrase. The hierarchy overruled. FDA hierarchy overruled their own scientists' recommendation to authorize some menthol flavored product. Now, I've got this little thread with Joe Gitchell, and with all due respect to Joe, they're going to do as they're told, or they're going to do it anyway. It doesn't matter.
Because they've been receiving firmly worded letters from Raja Krishnamurthy and Dick and the other Dick, and
So while I respect Joe's opinion, this is what happens. That's what happens. Well, I know you suggested it, but we're not going to do that. So fuck off.
Yeah. So I'm excited about the ruling because it clarifies that the FDA must treat every manufacturer fairly and consider the entirety of their application without randomly switching standards during the process. Advocate Skip Murray told Filter. I heard a collective sigh of relief from consumers and business owners that a panel of judges has finally grasped how wrong this whole process has been.
Yes.
That's from our lovely friend, Skip Murray, who is currently in the chat room right now.
It's a perfectly worded sentence.
A collective sigh of relief. I have not yet collectively sighed because I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Well,
yes. So it says here, Murray once ran a vape shop and was involved in an earlier unsuccessful lawsuit against the FDA. She has also written for Filter. She related how numerous smaller vape manufacturers and shops have had to close thanks to FDA's labyrinthine regulatory process, reducing harm reduction access for people in need. Small businesses and their customers have been given a thin thread of hope that perhaps a horrible wrong will soon be righted. We have long criticized the FDA. Oh, this is another goober that we know. We have long criticized the FDA Center for Tobacco Products' erratic and opaque approach to regulation. Gregory Connolly, Director of Legislative and External Affairs for the AVM, which represents smaller businesses, told Filter. This opinion could be a catalyst for meaningful reforms that would benefit both small business manufacturers and adult consumers, he continued. However, do not expect positive changes to happen overnight. CTP Director Brian King has spent the majority of his adult life advocating for flavor prohibition. However, the Department of Justice holds considerable power in deciding what the next steps in litigation will be, and the department hates to be told no.
Yes, they do.
Greg is really not nearly as stiff and boring as he appears. If you really want to get his interest, talk about death metal, like really bad, like obscure death metal,
and wrestling,
or horrible C-grade horror movies.
Okay,
he loves all of those things immensely. Immensely. So yeah, if you know some weird, like obscure, like death metal, black metal kind of, screechy band, like you can't understand, like even I, who am a metalhead, can't understand. That's his bag right there. Or like some like horrible like horror movie that a bunch of dudes filmed with their VHS player in the mid 80s with ketchup and like a toolbox. He will talk to you for hours about that, and obviously wrestling. Other observers are also unsure about the practical impact of the ruling. What, if anything, is to stop the FDA from arbitrarily rejecting the two companies' applications once again, given the lack of clear baseline PMTA standards. An authorized flavored product would at least set some kind of bar for what is required, but there isn't one. The FDA's next steps are uncertain, whether they will appeal to the Supreme Court or disregard the First Circuit's reprimand and find other reasons to deny applications. Connolly said if the latter occurs, manufacturers are likely to redress from the Fifth Circuit again. Given the court's recent ruling and the tone of their opinion, any future decisions are likely not to favor CTP. Most observers agree the future of U.S. tobacco harm reduction looks brighter than it did before the decision. Michael Siegel, who we love, a professor in the Department of Community Health Sciences at Boston University School of Public Health, tweeted that the ruling showed how the FDA had improperly rejected applications for vaping products. The ruling, he continued, is a win for public health.
Yeah.
Right on, as Troop said. Right on. So, am I hopeful? There's a glimmer that something good might happen. Am I positive that something good is going to happen?
No.
I've just been shat on so much, Kevin.
I was going to say, so many times have we.
They've pulled the rug out from under my feet so many times now. I just can't. I can't do it. I really want to.
Strawberry vape fields forever, right?
I really want it to be something good and possible.
As do I. I hope in a year from now we can just talk about.
We can go, you remember that time that the court shat all over the FDA and the FDA actually did their job after that?
That's right.
I don't. I wish. I hope.
Hold out both hands.
Yep. Here we go, Kevin. Let me rub this here. Let me make sure this is good. Here, let's present this. Remember, we talked about Governor Caitlyn Jenner last week, Kevin.
Is she eating a watermelon or something?
Yeah. Well, she's doubling down again, Kev.
Oh, yeah.
Welcoming the governor's support for expanding the state tobacco tax to include e-cigarettes and flavored vaping products aimed at young smokers.
Cabinet correspondent Tim Skubic is here for you now with more on this proposed legislation.
The state of Michigan is now spending.
Now, you remember last week she said somebody needs to write the bill and I'll sign it. That's what she said last week. Somebody.
Some $5 billion a year on tobacco smoking related health care issues. And a bipartisan package has now been introduced to reduce those costs by expanding the state tax on cigarettes to include e-cigarettes and flavored vaping products so popular with young smokers. 62% of the states are saying yes to that. What about the governor on expanding the tax?
If something like that was something the legislature wanted to send to my desk, I'd have a conversation with them about it. I'm open to it. Tim,
So that's the same video from last week, by the way, with the leather pants.
Mark. And a beer. She's got a beer and a koozie, I think, is what it looked like.
I had more respect for Bruce Jenner when he was on the box of Wheaties, is all I'm saying.
Get the bill drafted, get it turned in, and, we'll negotiate.
Having the governor on board is a huge step.
See,
does it add momentum to your effort?
Absolutely.
Mr. Steiner argues if you make the products more expensive,
many kids will either stop using or just even better, not start using in the first place.
There's absolutely no evidence, none, that shows that this will in any way, shape, or form scare a kid away. If a kid's already buying a product that's illegal for him to have, he's just going to ask for mom and dad to give him another $1, another $2, or whatever the cost is. Mom and dad are going to go, sure, here's another $2.
I've got a note suggestion for the show. Instead of putting the link next time, just put this is the one that will piss Mark off. Just do it that way, and then it's probably easier.
Well, I can't predict when Mark is actually going to show up.
We don't care if he's in here. We just know it's going to piss him off. We want him in here.
And I know when our friends in Florida watch the replay because they always comment.
Oh.
Peggy always comments.
Oh.
Place, saving many lives over the year. Over
negotiable.
The package would. Okay, so now he says that a vape tax.
It's negotiable.
Tax is going to save lives. Not only is it going to, it's not going to dissuade any kid from vaping.
No, there's no.
They have more free money than the adults do. All it's doing is punishing the hardworking adults that vape that don't want to smoke. That's all this is going to do. All it's going to do.
It also hike the regular tobacco tax on every smoker in the state, which would
encourage almost 50,000.
And it's going to also, again, they're punishing the poor people that smoke.
Yep.
That are going to continue to smoke. Now they're just going to be
paying more.
They're going to have less food. Because we damn well know people make the Sophie's choice every day that are poor.
Yeah.
Do I smoke or do I eat lunch? And 9 times out of 10, the choice is I'm going to smoke.
Yeah.
So you're just victimizing the poor again.
Yes.
1,000 Michigan smokers to quit smoking. Could lead to up to a 12% decrease in youth smoking.
But similar efforts in other.
Where the fuck is he coming up with that number?
That's not how any of this works, fuckface.
He's just making up numbers. 12%. How do you know?
He don't know.
Yeah, there's no historical basis that proves this point. There isn't. It doesn't exist. Period.
Other states have been fiercely fought by the tobacco industry, which has been successful in watering down this legislation.
Now, you damn well know if Mark goes to the state capitol,
he's on a list
to fight this. They're going to call him a tobacco shill. I'm pointing at the monitor. You can't even see I'm pointing. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. And we damn well know Mark will close the shop for the day if he has to and go there.
Yes, he does.
Governor Whitmer has fought the industry before, and she appears ready to join this anti-smoking coalition to do it again. Here for you in Lansing, Tim Skubik, 6 News.
I love these people that spout nonsense. They call it a fact without any factual evidence.
Well, you're being gaslighted twice, Patrick.
Yeah.
To me. One, we're going to raise the tax so you can quit smoking. Oh, and we've got these, ineffective products here that you can have. I mean, we're just giving them away,
And Mark says he's certainly going to end up there this month. All of my clients are aware I'll be closing up. See, I already know Mark is a warrior. Mark isn't going to go fight. Mark isn't going to give up. Never give up. Never surrender.
If I was in Michigan, I'd take custody of Bernie while he goes.
If I had any vacation time, I would be there with him. But I used up all my vacation time when I had knee surgery. And Skip says she didn't even realize that you could comment on replays. Yes, you can. Tab it says comments. Kevin.
What? Don't start with me.
Do you know what time it is?
Oh, it's got to be Vape Cat's tweet of the week time.
Yeah.
Although you say X, it's not what it is.
It is the here. Let's just play
Vape Cats.
It's time for the Vape Cats X of the week.
Are you going to point out my laziness, or are you just going to let that slide?
No, I'm gonna point out your laziness, Kevin.
All right, that's good.
But you could send me something as a message right now that I could
and cover my own ass. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well.
All right.
So while you're doing that, I will present one of mine.
All right.
That's not mine. I already showed 2 of my tweets. I'm not. I have a big ego, but I'm not going to call my own tweet of the week. I'm just not doing it.
There.
This is from Mags. And Mags says, why are tobacco cigarettes legal and available everywhere? And why are they restricting a proven safer alternative to smoking? This has nothing to do with public health, obviously.
Nothing.
That's a pretty good tweet. That's a pretty good tweet. I do have another one, Kevin, that I did not put in the show notes because I forgot about it.
Okay.
So
right.
This one is another one. It says, this is from Mr. Flintstone. Realizing my father's cigarette addiction that he continues to struggle with, he's tried to quit multiple times, is likely him self-medicating his undiagnosed, untreated ADHD because nicotine is a stimulant. So this is a child. Well, he's probably not a child anymore, but he's the smoker in this tweet. He's the child of a smoker,
right?
Who now realizes that his dad is probably, has probably been smoking for a very long time, due to the fact that he probably has some neurodiversity issues. He's ADHD, and he's from a generation of people who were never diagnosed with ADHD. That didn't happen.
Yep.
ADHD didn't exist 50 years ago.
Yep.
But here, this is one that Kevin just sent me to cover his ass.
36,000 views.
What, from the one that Mr. Flintstone?
Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. 701 likes and 42 retweets from Mr. Flintstone, who I've never heard of before.
Neither
but anyway,
I.
this is a Kevin's effort here. He's found somebody that's retweeted somebody that we know and love, who's currently in the chat room or was currently in the chat room. So it's not like he did any.
Oh, stop it!
Effort to find something unique and new. But it says, funny how all the data out there has proven vaping to be 95% safer than smoking. Yet that is the thing ruining kids. Ban cigs and booze. Then kids touch those every day. I used to before I was 18. In fact, I started smoking when I was 14 and drinking when I was 16. And that is from Zodista A. Zodista.
I don't know.
I don't know who Zodista is, but
highlighting Southern Vapor, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You just found somebody that retweeted somebody that we know and love.
Oh, no. Is that a cheap way to do it?
Yeah, it's like a zero effort.
Any means
zero
necessary.
effort. So, in my opinion, Kevin, in my opinion, the tweet of the week.
Yeah, I'm ready.
If we had to vote on which one was the best tweet of the week.
Oh, yours, I think, is better.
I would definitely say this one.
Yeah. By all means.
Because again, how I particularly like to highlight people that are outside of our circles.
Yep.
I mean, obviously, I could pick any Mark tweet or any Addy tweet or any Steve tweet or definitely any tweet from the lovely Skip and say these are amazing tweets. But I particularly like to find people outside of our friend circle, somebody who is not an outspoken vape advocate,
right,
to highlight the good works of that person. This particular tweet, which I'm going to copy here real quick and throw in the YouTube chat. If you haven't already, I would really appreciate it if y'all would go to that person's tweet and give them a like. You don't have to follow them, but at least like this tweet and maybe repost the tweet, because this is a great message that needs to be outside of our circle to the general public. Yeah. That's just my opinion on the matter, Kevin. We definitely need to draw attention, put eyes on people that are advocating in their own way for nicotine, for tobacco harm reduction, for whatever.
Yep.
So, Kev, you know that the Australian government's ridiculous prescription-only nonsense is taking effect, right?
Right.
So, got a piece here from what is it called? From the Guardian. It says here, Philip Morris is making deals with Australian pharmacies to supply below-cost vaping products. So the Vive nicotine pods and devices offered at an 80% margin on the conditions pharmacies sign supply deal with the tobacco giant. So this is the big evil tobacco company working hand and fist with pharmacies.
But Patrick, haven't all the what do you call them, the plebes, the dweebs, and the fucktards over there in Australia down under said they don't want any big tobacco companies. They do, but I'm all confused.
Well,
And these are okay.
Public Health Australia are those people. Emily Banks and that ilk have protested the evilness of the big tobacco, but now the pharmacies are working. The government is allowing the pharmacies to work with these companies and sign agreements so that they can get really cheap devices
directly.
But they're signing contracts.
And
so it says here, tobacco company Philip Morris International has made a deal with some Australian pharmacies to supply its Vive vaping products below cost, despite the company's opposition to the government's new prescription vaping model. Vive marketing materials seen by Guardian Australia offer pharmacists an introductory offer to supply nicotine pods and devices at 80% margin on the condition they sign a supply agreement with Philip Morris International directly, so not through a distributor. The offer is also on the condition pharmacies do not sell a packet of 2 Vive nicotine pods for more than $14.90 or devices for more than $19.90, cheaper than what wholesalers can offer. The recommended retail price for comparable pod products is $24.99. The marketing material for the offer only mentions PMI in fine print at the bottom of the document. University of Sydney, this guy who has me blocked now, he's one of the people that blocked me. The University of Sydney Emeritus Professor of Public Health and Tobacco Control, Simon Chapman, the chimp ban, accused PMI of playing a long game here to wreck the prescription access model by disrupting the competition. No, it wants a monopoly.
Yeah, I was just going to say, isn't this
a monopoly? You can't be that stupid. This has nothing to do with disrupting the prescription model. If the prescription model becomes law, then PMI just wants to have the monopoly on distribution in the country. They're going to go to all the pharmacies and offer them the best price possible. And then they're the only game in town. So then every person that vapes in Australia only has one option. Well, there'll be 2, but we'll talk about the second one in a minute. PMI have implacably opposed the provision of nicotine vaping products via prescription, actively lobbying for a consumer model, he said. This is chimp man. Their efforts in Australia to eliminate competition via the 80% margin to pharmacists need to be considered in the context of global ambitions to impose prescribed access. Again, if I sold a product, Kevin, the reasonable, responsible thing for me and the health of my company
shareholders
is to lock that fucking model off. Make sure that I'm the only one available. If I was Philip Morris International, Kevin, I would be doing the same damn thing. I would be making sure that nobody else can compete.
That's right.
And I will make up the price difference in the number of units sold.
That's right.
That's easy.
Supply and demand. Yeah.
Not producing the best quality product, just producing the only one that's available.
A product.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, also still selling my cigarettes just in case, because that's Not prescription models, of course. Those are just, you can get them anywhere. That's what I'm told.
So I'm not even going to read the rest of this, but the other product that is available, Kevin, is from a company called Liber Pharmaceuticals. So I'm going to go to Liber Pharmaceuticals website, Kevin.
Oh.
And I want to show you something.
Okay.
Because you're old enough to remember. You're old enough to remember. So, all right. So I'm going to share this tab. So this is Liber Pharmaceuticals website, Kev. And you know, they're promoting their vape product here.
Yeah.
All right. Now, if I go over here to this tab right here and I scroll down to Board of Directors, Kevin, which I'm going to do right now.
Oh, boy.
So I want you to look at this and I want you to tell me if you recognize any of the people that are currently on your screen, right?
Oh, Big Oliver. Yeah, I certainly do.
This fella right here, Oliver Kershaw.
Yep.
Now, for those oldies that are in the room, you're going to know who Oliver Kershaw is because there was back in old-timey days, and I think it still exists, but I've been banned on it for like the last 7 years or so. There's a site that's called ECF, eSig Forum. And it was a old school bulletin board forum where people could talk about vaping products and compare recipes back in the day before vaping was as big as it is today. And the founder of that organization is none other than Oliver Kershaw.
Yep.
Now, if you've seen the movie A Billion Lives,
yep,
you've seen Oliver Kershaw.
Yep.
Because he was interviewed for that movie. And Oliver Kershaw used to be a huge proponent of open vaping. But he moved to Australia, and he is now on the board of directors of Liber Pharmaceutical, who produce the Nico Vape Q, which is the only, this is the one that's already in all of Australia's pharmaceutical pharmacies.
Mm-hmm.
Unflavored, 60 milligram, leaky as fuck electronic cigarette. And that's not my opinion. That was an opinion that was expressed on Twitter this week that they are horribly leaky. So I'm kerfuzzled, Kevin.
Yeah.
So the other day, Grim Green posted on Twitter that he wanted one of his friends from Australia to get one of these and send it to him so that he could review it.
Okay.
And Paul Tic Tac responded, "I'll get a prescription. I'll send it to you."
Yeah.
So then I had to respond, Kevin, because I know that Nick and Oliver know each other.
Ah, okay.
So I said, "Hey, reach out to your buddy Oliver because he's on the board of directors of Liber Pharmaceutical that makes the product." And in one of the rare occasions where Nick actually responds to me on Twitter, he responded to me, Kevin. I felt blessed that he responded to.
He likes my tweets on occasion.
No, he likes tweets. He actually responded, Kevin.
Yeah.
I'm scrolling right now. I have a lot of
Right.
tweets that I have to scroll through here because I'm also arguing with an idiot on Twitter about comic books. So
James, unclench your fist.
There are quite a few of wow.
Well, there's a lot of idiots on Twitter.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, I found it. Let me share this. Let me share this tab just so that you can. I want you to see the whole experience, Kevin.
You want to? Can you savor this? As I will.
I will vape an Australian prescription vape for science. Can any Aussies hook me up?
Yeah.
And so then I scroll down.
Yeah.
So I said, hit up Oliver Kershaw. He's on the board of directors of the company that makes them.
He didn't know either, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So, all the, here, I will get a prescription for one and send it off to you. They are not flavored and have leaking issues. See?
Yeah.
Told you. So, but just the fact that I was able to stun Grimm with the Jeff Goldblum,
well,
I feel proud. I feel proud.
I didn't know it. See the things you get to learn. That's why we're the #1 show on right now. That's right there. That's the reason.
So, do I really want to call Oliver Kershaw a sellout, Kevin? Somebody in the chat room did. I
don't know if I'd go as far as to say sell out.
I mean, I know Oliver has been out of the vaping advocacy space for a while.
Yeah.
He moved from the UK to Australia. Yeah. And I know that he hasn't been around for a while. Yeah. And he's got to put food on his table somehow. So I mean, I don't know, again, because Kevin, I could do this show forever and not make a cent, and I have a job and a career outside of this world that pays my bills.
Yeah.
So I can do and say whatever the fuck I want because it doesn't mean anything because I'm not monetized.
Right.
I do this. I've been doing this show for 10 years almost, just because I like to do it, Kev.
Yeah.
And then we do have loyal friends that come and listen to us.
Yes. Of course.
But literally, I don't owe anybody anything. I don't have any masters that tell me what to do.
No. And neither does he.
Well, no, but he does have to pay his bills. So I don't, like I said, I don't know if he has any other skills that.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
So, but
it is a harm reduction move. It's not like he's working for the cigarettes. I guess. I don't know.
No, but he's working for Big Pharma, which, is just as evil.
Just the same. Yeah. I'd have to see his shoes for a minute. Right?
I will not stand in somebody's way because they need to eat food and put a roof over their head. But but anyway, here, let's just move. We're still in Australia, Kevin.
Woohoo!
We're still in Australia. Let me open this one. We got a video.
Your is the Australian Border Force won't be able to stop the importation of single-use vapes into the country. A whistleblower says the force only manages to detect around a quarter of illegal drugs, and the ban could further fuel the black market. Labor's crackdown.
So if they're only able to intersect or to stop or to capture 1/4 of the illegal illicit drug market,
they're going to get 1/10 of this, 1/5, 100th.
Why wouldn't you put more effort into the illicit, illegal drug world?
Well,
into trying to stop the that kills.
As long as we have
people actually overdose and die from illicit drugs, Kevin.
But as long as
nobody's ever died from vaping ever.
Yeah.
Not when not doing it right. At least, we know that there's
There's
been
no-
some
there's
accidents.
no
The guy
money
got a metallic mechanical mod, in his head because it exploded, but he wasn't using it right, But and it wasn't while he was vaping; he was asleep, and it blew up because it was on the bedside table. So
yeah.
I'm just concerned, Kevin, that stupidity is rampant, and that the human race is going to suffer.
It is
a future of stupidity.
On vapes, regardless of whether they contain nicotine, has been welcomed by public health advocates. The ABF says they are already stopping these illegal suppliers in their tracks.
Just in the first 24 hours of the new ban.
How can they be stopping them in their tracks when they just admitted that they're only able to stop 1/4 of the illicit drug market, Kevin?
No. It's money.
I was in the middle of a drink when I almost shot tea out my nose.
As long as
And
there's
coming
money.
into play,
to
we've
fund-
seen seizures in all those environments, as mentioned before, international mail, air cargo environment, and sea cargo environment. People are still attempting to import these illicit vapes into Australia. Part of the messaging today is, unless you've got a permit or a license to import those vapes, they will be seized and destroyed.
They will be seized and destroyed.
We don't want you helping yourselves. You fuckers. Stop thinking for yourselves.
Independent and
that's right.
Think for yourselves. That's just not right. That's just wrong.
So I don't remember where I heard this.
Raj says, well, they have to make it sound. They have to make it sound good, but they didn't make it sound good because they contradicted themselves right in the middle of their damn article.
Well, we're smart.
If some idiot like me can catch that, then smart people should be able to catch that too.
Chuckleheads are us. That's what we do.
I'm gonna get a T-shirt that says Chucklehead right across the boobs, right here.
Chuckleheads are us. So if there's money and there's funding, you can do a whole lot. But if there ain't no money in it, there ain't no help. Like for instance, homelessness, right? You can't make no money on homelessness, so there's homelessness.
If somebody figures out a way to monetize that shit, there won't be no homeless people anymore, Kevin.
Exactly. Troop, no. Still, not yet.
Cigarettes are available everywhere, Kevin. No prescription needed.
Yes.
Now, I was watching an old episode of House the other day, which is one of my favorite TV shows, because he's just as grumpy and bastardly as me. And he does prescribe a guy 2 cigarettes a day for spastic colon. Yep.
Anally or by mouth?
No. Smoke them on the regular.
Okay.
Nicotine does apparently improve your spastic colon symptoms.
Yep.
But here's a piece from Politico, Kevin. You'll love this one.
Ooh.
It says Europe's war against tobacco has a new target.
Yep.
Nicotine.
That's right.
As the market for nicotine pouches grows, Brussels is eyeing regulation. So it says here, Europe is building up a head of steam to wage the next war on big tobacco. And this time, it's not over deadly cigarettes, but a product that contains no tobacco at all, the seemingly innocuous nicotine pouch. Still, somewhat of an anomaly outside of Sweden, nicotine pouches are little... No, to be fair, Kevin, this is not actually correct.
All right.
Because nicotine pouches and snus are not the same thing.
No, okay.
So nicotine pouches use a powdered form of nicotine with flavoring agents and things like that. Whereas snus is a pasteurized tobacco product that goes through a process, but it is tobacco leaves in the little pouch or in the little cans.
Nah.
So here I will show you a snus. So there is a snus right there. You see, it's brown. It's got tobacco.
Yeah.
Most of your nicotine pouches are white.
Gotcha.
So Just so you know. So anyway, Europe is building up a head of steam to wage the next war on big tobacco. And this time, it's not over deadly cigarettes, but a product that contains no tobacco at all. The seemingly innocuous nicotine pouch. Still, somewhat of an anomaly outside of Sweden, nicotine pouches are little bags of nicotine flavoring and plant-based fibers that are placed under the lip to release a hit. See, I don't like this description of nicotine buzz that people nicotine hit. I just don't like it. They're popular unless you're talking about throat hit. That's a different thing. Their popularity is growing. Analysis indicates that the market for nicotine pouches doubled between 2020 and 2021 in Croatia, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Slovakia, and the United Kingdom. While Swedish snus, a more well-known product, contains tobacco and is banned across the rest of the EU, nicotine pouches have until now escaped the beady regulatory eyes of Brussels bureaucrats because they don't contain tobacco. That means there are no EU-level rules on the levels of nicotine allowed in pouches or what kind of labeling is allowed. But long-expected revisions of the bloc's laws on tobacco products, taxation, and advertisement could change all that. The current rules already cover e-cigarettes, which also do not contain tobacco, and indications are that the Commission wants to use the revision to tighten the noose on nicotine pouches. A potential ban following the lead of Belgium and the Netherlands and parts of Germany could also be on the cards. I think that regulation is going to treat the tobacco industry as a nicotine industry, said Philip Gorman, senior equity analyst of Morningstar, an investment research company. I think we'll see taxes being implemented on these products more akin to the way cigarettes have been taxed. A summary of the preliminary findings of a study in the EU's tobacco control legislation carried out for the Commission by research firm Open Evidence suggests the ban on snus could be extended to nicotine pouches. Health Commissioner Stella Kyriakides has also said that the growing popularity of nicotine pouches poses serious public health concerns, Kevin. So it says here, highly addictive and minimally regulated.
Well, water's highly addictive too. So
yes, water is wet as well. While nicotine is highly addictive, there's less consensus on its health impacts. A summary of expert presentations to the Parliament's Health Committee published in February found the health risks of nicotine pouches reside primarily in the high nicotine content of certain products, leading to similar or higher content of nicotine users' blood. So if you use a nicotine product, the nicotine level of your blood will increase.
Well, duh. Chucklehead.
A separate report by German Federal Institute for Risk Assessment found that nicotine has strong effects on the cardiovascular system, and pouches are high risk for children, pregnant and breastfeeding women, and those with cardiovascular disease. Well, I'm not a child, I'm not pregnant, I'm not breastfeeding, and I don't have a heart condition, Kevin, so I should be fine.
You should be all right.
Yeah. But one of the central concerns for this potential appeal to young people, the Parliament report says that while nicotine pouches and other novel tobacco products like e-cigarettes provide alternatives to cigarette smokers that have not proven to be risk-free and may provide a gateway for young non-smokers into tobacco and nicotine consumption. It's the gateway, Kevin, the gateway that they've never been able to find the gate. They found the fence apparently, but they can't find the gate to get into the fence.
They are the gate.
Yeah. So MEP Nicholas Gonzalez Carcieres told Politico that aggressive advertising around nicotine pouches prompted him to submit a written question on whether the Commission intends to regulate nicotine pouches at the EU level. Yeah. This is why I'm glad that some people have decided to Brexit. In her response, Health Commissioner Kyriakides made clear the danger she believes these products pose, both to public health and to the internal market. She said the regulation of emerging products, such as nicotine pouches, are at the core of ongoing evaluations of laws on tobacco products and advertising.
Well, belief and truth are two different things.
Yeah. So the open evidence study summary, marked confidential and seen by Politico, says the ban on tobacco for oral use, i.e. snus, has been found to be highly successful in improving the internal market and ensuring a high level of health protection, even if some challenges are posed by new products as covered under the relevant criteria that require the ban to be extended to nicotine-containing oral pouch. So what you're saying is that your ban has been highly successful at preventing these products from being on the market.
Yeah.
But this rest of this is nonsense because we know that snus have been used for almost a century.
I was going to say decades and decades.
Almost a century.
Yeah.
Because I think they were around like 1930-ish.
Don't know. Been a long time.
Sure,
I knew
that's
that.
pretty close to almost a century. And cancer rates in Sweden are the lowest of anywhere in the world. Smoking rates are lower there than in every other European or American country.
Yeah, anywhere.
So I don't get it.
Which is crazy, but that's the way it is. It's amazing.
I actually saw a TikTok video of 3 attractive young ladies in Sweden snoozing, showing you how to put the snus in. So
Good.
even attractive young ladies like them.
Good.
It also acknowledges that companies believe that extending the ban to nicotine pouches will be detrimental for users intending on switching to safer products. While the timeline around the bloc's revision of its tobacco laws is still unclear, the apparent recommendation for a ban has riled up industry and some lawmakers, including MEP Charles Whitmer from the European Conservatives and Reformist Group, who first tweeted about the leaked report. The industry says bring on the self-regulation. Tobacco company, there was no picture of the tweet. Yeah. Tobacco companies, including Philip Morris International, British American Tobacco, Imperial Brands, and Altria, have been quick to move to the nicotine space, either through development of their own products or acquisition of companies that produce pouches. And remember about a year and a half ago, Kevin, when Philip Morris International bought 2 pharmaceutical companies, one that specifically owned patents on oral delivery pouches, and another on, you see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Hey, let me ask
you. Are you picking up what I'm putting down now, Kevin?
I had this conversation over time with Paul, and I tell you, I like him better than you, but boy, I don't like that little fucker sometimes. And he said, do you understand you know what I mean? He's a shithead. So do you understand the connection between pharmaceutical and the tobacco company? And I'm like, well, he said, where do you think the pharmaceutical companies get their nicotine? Oh, fuck. So, yeah.
Theoretically, Kevin. Theoretically, you didn't know that?
Well, yeah. So there you go.
The way the industry works is they create a new product to avoid regulation as long as possible, said Lila Olifer, director of Smoke-Free Partnership, a network that aims to promote tobacco control advocacy and research in the EU. During that time, the product is advertised on social media as lower risk. But the industry insists that nicotine pouches provide tobacco cigarette users with a less harmful alternative and should be regulated separately and less stringently than snus or e-cigarettes. I don't think that any one of them should be regulated any more seriously than the other because we already know what the harm profile on snus is extremely low. If vaping is at least 95% less harmful, then snus are like 99.9% less harmful.
Yeah.
And we're looking at
negligible.
Yes. In a document seen by Politico, major players, including BAT, Imperial Brands, and Japan Tobacco International, set out a self-regulatory framework for nicotine pouches that would see products only sold and marketed to adults, a health warning stating that the product contains nicotine, which is a highly addictive substance, and a cap of 20 milligrams of nicotine per pouch. In the EU, disposable vapes, which can be used multiple times, can contain up to 40 milligrams of nicotine, while a tobacco cigarette can only contain 1 milligram.
Yeah.
Okay. BAT's head of EU affairs, Eric Sensi Miniatier, said of the commission, if the commission decides to regulate further, BAT would welcome the harmonization of rules around nicotine pouches to remove regulatory divergences between countries, because we don't like to have different islands of regulation. So let's see. Let's look over here. Skip says, I've heard that most NRTs use synthetic nicotine. Anyone know if that's true? The last I heard, that's not true. I heard before that pharma got most of their tobacco nicotine from India. All rumor, would like to know if that's true. Well, the nicotine that you use in your e-liquid also comes from India. The plantations that produce those higher nicotine, the plants that are used to create pharmaceutical grade nicotine that we use in vaping and what is used in pharmaceutical products, comes from a genetically engineered tobacco plant that produces higher levels of nicotine than what the tobacco that we smoke comes from. But yes, the vast majority of nicotine that we use either comes from India or China. The actual raw nicotine is grown in India. Then they go to labs in Poland and Germany and Austria and other places for purification and then marketing.
So synthetic is low.
Well, it's still extremely expensive, Kevin.
Okay. Yeah, I do not know the answer to that at all. I just thought it was always tobacco.
In my research, in my research, unless something has changed since I looked into it like 3 years ago when I was looking at the research for the higher level nicotine pouches being more successful at helping people quit than what is commercially available here research, which that's what I learned at that point, was that the nicotine that they were using was coming from, and that's and then Dimitri actually told me about the type of plant that produces the higher level nicotine.
Yeah. See, I didn't know
you don't have to harvest as many plants to get the same amount of nicotine, because those plants are engineered to create higher levels of nicotine.
Okay.
And that was something that Dimitri told me.
I will say, as I've always said, you don't restrict nicotine strength. Doesn't matter.
Well, like we said, like we know for a fact, I have research that I can drag up here that proves that the higher level, like 36 and 4 or higher milligram nicotine pouches, are more successful than the
it's still
less than 20 milligram pouches that are available on the market widely here.
David Dorn told me I didn't understand nicotine, and he explained it to me within a paragraph. I was like, what? No shit. Because I said, when he told me he was using, I don't remember now, I think he was using 56. And I responded by, aren't you dead yet? Because I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah,
and then he said, no, Kevin, don't be stupid. So anyway.
Troop says in the chat room, China too. He totally didn't hear the part where I said China.
Leave Troop alone.
I like to pick on Troop. He's my friend.
So there's no reason to limit nicotine strength for any reason. It's all a ruse. Shush. Shush.
Yeah. So I'm gonna skip a little bit, but it says here they're talking to, while nicotine pouches are still small fry when it comes to tobacco company profits and have yet to be taken up by large numbers of Europeans, the swift bans by countries like Belgium and the Netherlands can be explained by the fact that it's easier to put in place regulations on the very earliest stages of growth, argued Morningstar's Gorham. While Gorham acknowledges that governments are concerned about the possible health impacts of nicotine pouches, he said there might also be another less noble motive to consider a ban. The skeptic in me also says that the tax stream from tobacco is very attractive and all governments are struggling to balance the books. I think the thought process here is that if you ban a category early, you retain the tax revenue in cigarettes.
Imagine that. I like it when they say it out loud, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
I just do. Just do. It's true. I'm vaping it and I approve Troop's message.
Now I'm gonna randomly say things silently and see if Troop catches what I'm. Since he says he's lip reading.
Well, I don't know if he can lip read or not. I bet he can.
I'm making sure that when I say it,
yeah,
I'm exaggerating my lip movements.
Well, you did.
So when I say, he knows what I said,
and then leave him alone.
All right, Kevin. This is the last piece of the YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch streams.
Al, we got to talk about that billboard.
After this piece, we will move into the more controversial material over in the Rumbles.
Thanks for hanging with us all.
Yes.
Skip, especially. I don't see Skip.
I know. She's usually napping by now. She must not be working.
I haven't called her cranky in a while.
I'm waiting on
an article to refer her as the cranky old broad. That's what I'm waiting. I just
it's not the cranky part that's not good, Kevin. It's the other part. So I mentioned earlier, Kevin, that we were going to talk about MD Anderson Cancer Center.
Yes, he did.
So today, MD Anderson published on their website an article called "Does Vaping Cause Cancer?"
Oh boy, here we go.
See, today. This is today. Well, yes, this is still today. Does vaping cause lung cancer? By Gina Von Tom. Von Tom. The saying goes, where there's smoke, there's fire. Vaping seems to be the exception to the rule, as vapes or e-cigarettes use electricity rather than fire to convert vape liquid with substances like tobacco, nicotine, CBD, and THC into vapor that can be smoked or inhaled. It would not be smoked. Like
she was doing good until that. She really
factually
was.
Correct. Skip says that she was sleeping. I do have tonight off, but couldn't stay awake. I woke up because I dreamed Kevin slapped Brian King. That woke me up before I could give Kevin the Be Kind lecture.
It'd be like the Will Smith slap if I did.
Was she here when I was talking about Jerry?
Because sure as shit you'd have got a Be Kind message about Jerry. I think she missed that part. Okay, she'll go on the replay.
I don't want to get a lecture.
I would never slap Brian King unless I had an opportunity.
He's never going to get within arm's reach.
Surely Gina was doing well until it said the word smoked. It was fine. I was all happy and
so far so good. It was until she used the word smoked right here. But does this difference mean that vaping doesn't increase your risk for lung cancer and other health problems caused by traditional cigarettes? Is vaping truly a case where there's smoke but no fire? We spoke with Dr. Edwin Ostrin, he's an MD, PhD, to learn more about how vaping impacts the lungs.
Yeah.
How is vaping different than smoking cigarettes? Vaping, or vapes, differ from cigarettes in part because they heat liquids, not solids. Ostrin says cigarettes produce combusted plant matter that can deliver harmful chemicals directly to the lungs, leading to lung tissue destruction and lung cancer. Still, while he says that vapor from e-cigarettes seems to be less harmful than tobacco smoking, he notes that the long-term health effects of vaping aren't yet known. We just don't know, Kevin.
Well,
the effects aren't really known, and some of these epidemiological facts can take decades to really be noticed. We don't have a great evidence basis because people haven't been using these heavily for decades yet. Well, I've been using them for 1 decade plus.
Janice and I've got a decade each.
Yeah. Another important distinction between traditional cigarettes and vape products is that vape products are not regulated by the FDA. Again, not true, because we did just cover a massive story earlier where the FDA was handed a smackdown by the Fifth Circuit Court because they were regulating unfairly. Well, he is in California, so there it's you know, it's still before his 8 o'clock bedtime in California.
His parole officer's not called yet.
Yeah. Ostrin says this can make it challenging for vape users to understand how much nicotine they are consuming and exactly what is in cannabis vape products like those containing THC and CBD. Well, since I vape nicotine and not THC or CBD, I don't use the. I don't need to know that because I don't.
It's a cautionary we don't know tale so far now. So I'm getting a little less likely to like this.
Does vaping cause lung cancer, Kevin?
Well, we don't know.
Well, we know that smoking cigarettes is a risk factor for several types of cancer, including lung cancer. So it is natural to wonder if vaping poses similar risks. Unfortunately, Ostrin says that it's still too early to tell exactly how vaping impacts the lungs. We don't really know what we're delivering into the lungs yet. If there are little bits of damage that build up over years, we may not see it for decades. Ostrin says there are many chemicals in tobacco smoking that can cause the lungs' epithelial cells to undergo mutations that may lead to cancer. While he notes that vape liquid contains far fewer of these chemicals, it does contain some that can damage cells. However, he says that this hasn't been shown outside of a laboratory setting. Some of these have been shown in a petri dish to cause cells to become inflamed and maybe undergo mutation, but we don't have yet the observational and epidemiological data to show that there are cancers associated with it. Now, we did just see a video cartoon from Oklahoma that says that vaping mutates your cells, even though we have this world-renowned expert who says we haven't seen that yet.
Well.
But anyway, cancer risk is only one of the vaping topics researchers are tackling. Ostrin says there are biological questions about vape liquid components and their impact on long-term lung health, whether vaping triggers diseases such as COPD and asthma, and epidemiological questions. I think there's an entire spectrum of research that is now kicking off, Ostrin says. How else does vaping impact the lungs? Oh, here we go, Kevin. I can already see a word down here, a paragraph down that I know is going to be silly.
See, now you've lost all faith and hope in me.
There are several other lung-associated health risks associated with vaping, including some that you may have heard about on the news. The first is EVALI, or e-cigarette or vaping-associated lung injury. A large outbreak of EVALI occurred in 2019 when thousands were hospitalized with lung scarring and inflammation after using e-liquid thickened with vitamin E acetate. Ostrin says the tragedy is an example of how unregulated the vaping industry is.
Yeah.
People can just go, we're going to add chemical X, Y, or Z because we're going to give more flavor, more quality, or more quality, and they have no idea about the consequences of short or long-term damage that these chemicals are causing. Vaping is also linked to a type of lung damage called bronchiolitis obliterans, or popcorn lung, which is caused, Kevin, by a chemical called diacetyl used to sweeten some vape liquid. It's not used to sweeten anything. Diacetyl is the component of your flavoring that adds a buttery note.
Yeah.
That's why it's used as a butter flavoring for popcorn.
Yeah.
Additionally, because vape liquids are unregulated, they may have contaminants.
Tisk tisk. Started off so good. Oh my goodness.
I'm not going to read the rest of this because
You know, Patrick, listen. This is just Kev. It's just me talking to you. We're having a conversation. I quit smoking. I'm using this. And then you say, well, isn't that dangerous? Well, I don't know, but it makes me feel better.
Doesn't that cause like brain worms or something, Kevin?
Probably, but you know what? If it turns out that this also may or might cause an array of things to my body that may be detrimental to me eventually, I would prefer to do this than to smoke. Me, Kev, that's it. So if you don't like that, I like my own personal choices and autonomy on making my own fucking decisions, and you can kiss my ass. Really? That's
Kevin, are you telling me that you're not forcing anybody to do anything?
Fuck no.
Are you
don't care?
Are you not enforcing your will upon other people?
I don't like to do so. I like for you to be informed and make your own decision. Whether that's right or wrong for you is up to you. There's no other deal at all, except for me and Al being on like a big old billboard or something. And then it'd be just him and me going like this. You little shit, stop doing that. Just leave us alone. Leave adults alone to make their choices. Period. I don't like. Let's say vodka.
How do you not like vodka? It doesn't taste like anything.
Because to me, right, there's no pleasure or satisfaction in drinking vodka. To me, that doesn't mean you can't drink. You drink vodka. Fuck, I don't care.
You don't tell me what to do, Kevin.
I don't care. I may care about a situation that you're going through or you're struggling with, but if you're making a decision to do what you want to do with your life, then unless you ask me my opinion, it's really none of my concern. Really.
Yeah.
And again, if you, big B in the room, make a choice to do what is either detrimental or better for you, then go. You go do that. Go, you be you. Yes. And that is why I don't like articles like what you've just posed to me to present. Because fuck that.
I did it on purpose. You know, I picked the Michigan one because I just knew that Mark was going to be here tonight.
And I appreciate that. I do.
And I included several of these just to get your dander up too.
Well, yeah, I know.
But if you think your dander's up now, wait 5 minutes and meet, and we're going to be over in the Rumble in less than 5 minutes. But
yeah, you know, you're doing pretty good on time. I'm kind of like, I'm enjoying this zipping along thing.
Yeah. So
making me get up.
Anyway, there will be people. There will be people. You people. That don't want to go to continue our nonsense and tomfoolery and shenanigans over in the Rumble show, but I will post a link right now.
The ne'er-do-wells will be there.
To the Rumble show that is an extension of this show, but
yes.
Bruni is already over there. Omicidal is already over there. So it says that Omicidal is now a monthly supporter. I don't know what that means, but he has a big red thing over here that says that he is now a monthly supporter. I don't know what that means. Again,
I love and adore you, Skip. Patrick doesn't.
I love her more than
you don't.
Love her. Yes, you disrespect her all the time.
Don't make me fight you.
You call her old. Yes, there is a chat on Rumble, dear. There is a chat on Rumble.
Don't call her dear. She ain't got no antlers.
No, a deer.
That's not very nice.
Deers are very lovely creatures. Have you not seen Bambi, Kevin?
Oh, look at us fighting over Skip. Look at
That's because she's a lovely human. We love her.
She'd knock the shit out of both of us. like two church boys in the front row.
Where is he at? He hasn't been around in
know.
ever.
I
He hasn't
don't
been
know.
around. I miss him. He was awesome. But anyway,
hydrate.
Anyway, say goodbye to our friends that won't follow us over to the Rumble, because we do love them, just not as much as the people that are going to Rumble.
I do love you. I'll tell you a short little story. The grandson's in the back seat. He said, "Pop, pop." It's not Popeye anymore. It's Pop, pop. What? When you were a little kid, he's 5, and curiosity just spurting out of him. What did you play with when you were a little boy? I said, rocks and sticks. Oh, he cracks me up. So be kind to each other, like Skip says, and each other, and just try to be rougher with everybody else.
Yeah.
Try to get away with that. Kind of slide it in.
Yeah, we love you.
Yes.
The ones of you that are, again, not as much as the Rumble people, but we do love you. And we will see you in 7 days, if not sooner, over there at the Rumbles.
See that? You see that?
And we're going to be back in 2 minutes and 38 seconds because I'm going to play a stinger that I haven't played in a while because it's very.
She mark-proofed her phone.
I
object. I strongly object. I'm going to send a strongly worded letter.
We know those work, but anyway. 2 minutes and 38 seconds, Kevin. Go get your coffee.
Coffee.
We are one nation under God, and knowing that inspires us. It inspires us to look within and find that fundamental respect and care that we should have for one another.
Bring your hands up for me. Okay, good.
Check the armpits. Take your time. Look carefully.
Okay, bring them down. Okay, let's spread your legs a little bit wider. Okay. Okay, lift your penis for me, please. Okay, testicles.
If he's uncircumcised, ask him to pull back the foreskin.
Let's turn around.
Look at the neck, back, spinal area, and buttocks.
Okay, bend forward for me, please, and spread your buttocks.
Look for anything inserted. Observe any constricting of the rectal muscles, which may indicate the inmate is straining to retain something.
Okay.
You may see a thin string, indicating something is there. If you have any suspicion, ask the inmate to squat and cough deeply, which could dislodge it. If you're still suspicious, call for a medical search. You're not authorized to make any intrusion into the inmate's body orifices.
Who's going to protect our children?
DA Edward Burke cited Wisconsin law in a report stating what happened in Suring does not meet the definition of a strip search.
Having children stripped down to their bra and underwear is not okay in Wisconsin or any other state. My youngest